Well, it does look suspiciously like this enables the Republicans to play a classic bait and switch, which is the following. You have this hard-fought negotiation where they want to bail out business because basically they're all invested in these businesses. The Democrats, God love them, God loathe them, they actually care slightly more about people, and they actually want to bail out the people this time. And they realize, like the Brits do, that this is a crisis of consumption. You need to give direct support to people's ability to feed themselves and their families. So they eventually get both. Everybody wins. Funny, though, that what happens then is Trump comes along and fires the people who are meant to do the oversight on this. Funny that, like, all the cash that's going to go to these airlines and cruise lines and other really strategically important industries, I bet they're not waiting on a check. I bet that went straight into their bank accounts. Meanwhile, Joe Schmo has to sit around and wait for a check. Well, that just basically allows you to kind of like not really do that bit and sort of, hope that you can grab all this public cash, shower your friends with it, and then, hopefully we're out of there before anyone notices. The only problem is the virus isn't going to play ball to your timetable. So you're just hurting people and you're making this worse.
So I think what he's saying is that every time there's a crisis, every politician, they serve their donors before they serve working people.
They have to make their paycheck. It's like the same problem the working people have. Where are they going to get their next paycheck?
Right. But it's... Yeah, so
the thing is, they do get a paycheck. It's like, how is your Congress people? It's like they get 150,000, 200, 300, whatever thousand, and it's like, how did you make out of the year making 150 million? What were said in your briefings?
Yeah,
that got
so
you to buy a lot of
that's what I'm saying.
like,
the politics of compromise will only serve those industries before they serve people.
Because apparently the lie is that all those people rely on those industries.
So the Democrats aren't any better. Hold on, let's just watch this clip first.
The Republicans.
I would like to think the Democrats care about working people. In fact, that is a myth. And Barack Obama was George Bush 2.0, and that's why we got Donald Trump, because people were even more desperate after 8 years of lefty politics from Barack Obama, who one time slipped in an interview that he was doing with a foreign news agency and said that his policies would actually be considered moderate Republican if this was 1980s. So we all know that Barack Obama was actually Republican. Nancy Pelosi was the one who stopped direct cash payments and wanted to put a means test on the Republican idea of direct cash payments during this pandemic. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer were the ones just as responsible for this bill and screwing. And then after it was revealed that the people got screwed in this bill, Nancy Pelosi's fix was to go lower the taxes for people who make over $250,000. I mean, that's just the way the gears work. There's one party in this country, and it's a money party. Now, I don't know economics like you do, but I certainly know politics, and there ain't two parties in this country.
Nope.
Yeah, so there you go. So can you imagine things getting worse?
As they've been.
So this guy...
well, we've come to a complete halt, pretty much.
Have we?
I know. Once the essential workers are dead. How is it that Congress don't feel their jobs essential at this point? Huh?
Because they'd rather take a break. So Austerity is a book that Mark Blyth wrote, and it's the history of a dangerous idea. So here's an excerpt from, I think, from the synopsis of the book. Governments today in both Europe and the United States have succeeded in casting government spending as reckless wastefulness that has made the economy worse. In contrast, they have advanced a policy of draconian budget cuts, austerity, to solve the financial crisis. We are told we have all lived beyond our means and now need to tighten our belts. This view conveniently forgets where all the debt came from, not from an orgy of government spending, but as the direct result of bailing out, recapitalizing, and adding liquidity to the broken banking system. Through these actions, private debt was rechristened as government debt, while those responsible for generating it walked away scot-free, placing the blame on the state and the burden on the taxpayer. So this idea...
Satoshi, if you're out there and you need someone to apprentice, I want to run away forever for good, and then come back to... I'm just kidding.
So this idea of austerity.
Destroy a banking system. Just
Do you understand what austerity is?
no, probably not.
Even after reading this?
Austerity? No, I wouldn't know from.
So it's
Should I look it up?
it's right here. I'm trying to explain it to you. Austerity is this idea that the solution is to cut austerity is this idea that government spending is the problem. The government is spending too much. And so in this pandemic, Andrew Cuomo is trying to push Medicare cuts. And can you imagine in this pandemic even more government cuts being put out? Like OAN was trying to push, is asking Trump about payroll tax cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of these things are going to be cut, and they're trying to argue that it's a good thing. And austerity is.
I know. I had told you that when I said they were going to end up in getting Medicaid, Social Security, all those things are all going to get cut.
Right. So it's called austerity.
Like, that's not going to happen.
When you
now
defend.
you're telling me it is. Great.
So do you understand what austerity is now?
No.
It's when you defend.
I can understand everything around all of this.
I know, but we're trying to get to what austerity is as an idea.
Yeah, so it says, like, right here, what dictionary? From Oxford. Sternness or severity of manner or attitude. So, quote, he was noted for his austerity and his authoritarianism. And then bullets, extreme plainness or simplicity of style or appearance.
Right, so this is we're talking about the book, though.
Conditions characterized by severity, sternness, or... Okay. So it's like an attitude.
Mm-hmm. Towards, like, government spending. It's pinning government spending as the
even
economic
though
issue.
they're the one... Like, government spending is so tightly budgeted. Mm-hmm. Like, every penny is accounted for. Why? How do they think it's overspending on what? And then they're... Oh, I guess that's when they cut all those public
schools, public transport, payroll tax cut, Medicare, Social Security.
But where are all their taxes coming from?
Yeah, they're cutting taxes. Everyone, they want to cut taxes and cut government spending. That's the dangerous idea.
Because they want people to. That's almost like what's
that's
it
exactly
called?
what it is.
Ron
Yeah.
Stewart, what is it?
Ron Swanson.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's so they talk about it. Let's get to that clip.
Do you think that there will be austerity after this? What do you say?
Well, so I would hope that people aren't stupid enough to try this. But let's look no further than Wisconsin. Because what did you have there, as well as an epic exercise in voter suppression using the virus as a tool? What were they also demanding? Well, given the fact that all the schools are shut, we might as well cut the schools budget. So they'll be back. Now, when we'll wake up and we'll suddenly find we've got 100%, 170% of debt to GDP, and they'll all start freaking out again. Now, the fact that the interest rate is basically negative on United States borrowing over 10 years, the interest rates are not going anywhere, then basically the rate of growth in the economy will always be higher than the rate of interest on the bond. So it shrinks just by itself so long as you keep growing. What are they going to do? A whole ton of cuts so that they don't have to pay any taxes, because that's all this is ever about. And then to hell with the economy, because, hey, I'm invested in finance and tech. I don't give a shit.
Well, that's depressing.
Sorry. You have to laugh, or else
Or
I'll
you're
cry.
gonna cry. I'm like, you know what? Everyone just needs to cry.
So
I think
what they're saying there is that this idea of austerity, they're still pushing for these cuts. In Wisconsin, they cut the schools budget because all the schools are out. And it's, yeah, it's insane that, I guess it's money over people all around, even in a pandemic. There's no emergency severe enough where people could be helped without extreme corporate conditions attached.
So let's build an extreme corporation.
The United People.
I'm gonna call it the Trojan Horse.
Ew.
You said it.
Why? Why the Trojan Horse? All right. Well,
Tricked the people to get them into the thing and won that war. They got through the infallible wall or whatever. You don't know the story of the Trojan Horse?
I forget. Was it a war?
Oh,
Which
you
war?
only know it because of that's why you said yeah. Oh shit, 420. In the mountains.
Oh, it's almost 4:20. Oh my gosh. We only. Oh, I guess we went to 3 stories.
Oh, okay.
Did we do 3 stories? Yeah. Whew.
Oh, do you have a lighter?
I do.
Okay.
The spicy day. Almost there. What is that? 1 minute? We have U.S. healthcare worst system you could possibly imagine. UPI is not the answer.
We're gonna do.
And ignore debt, says Economist. Year of Jubilee is the answer.
What did we say? We said 2020
that's what I
was
said.
year of Jubilee.
I know, so those are the 3 stories we have left. I've been trying to name them as I go, so you can kind of see that.
Oh.
These are kind of the final names are going to be. We just went over U.S. economy never going back to normal, and corporations get richer in crashing economy thanks to
no
politicians.
normal. That's a lie too.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, happy 420! Yeah,
I keep asking that.
Mid-
I should look it up. Illinois.
something around there. Happy 420, guys.
Tennessee? New Orleans, probably on that time. This is to blow the COVID virus away, like that scary alien-looking white pastor on TV. In the name of Jesus.
All right.
That man's got to rethink his eyebrows. I'm just kidding.
Do you want to hear about how the U.S. healthcare system is the worst system you could possibly imagine in a pandemic like this? And those aren't my words. That's from someone who's
now
lived...
they are. You spoke them.
I mean, I'm quoting Mark Blyth, but let's watch this clip.
Where do you find these people?
So in
Honestly, it's on the Jimmy Dore show.
Oh,
It's
okay,
a great.
okay, yeah.
America, when people lose their job, they lose their health insurance, which means they lose access to health care. So with with predicted 30% unemployment, which is probably going to be even higher, that means
It's a total disaster. No other country has managed to build a vulnerability like this into their society. It's insane. Everybody else has figured out that if you're not paying, well, I'll give you my numbers, right? So I pay about, for my family, $1,000 a month just out of my paycheck prior to taxes, right? My employer sticks more on it. And then on top of that, I've got a $6,000 deductible before my health insurance actually kicks in, right? So take $20,000, right? And then the equivalent in taxes, I would need to pay $20,000. I need to be earning $60,000 more, right? This is insanity. You could basically do what everybody else does and spend about 9% of GDP rather than 18% of GDP, one central payer system, and I'd save a fortune because I wouldn't need to spend $1,000 a month and a $6,000 deductible. Whatever I was paying in taxes would be half of that. Same on the employer side. It literally makes no sense to me why the United States doesn't do this. The payoff to employers if you had central funded taxes, right? Every time you hire someone, the wage has to go up by 1/3 to cover benefits. Imagine you could just say to all employers, hey, how do you like to save 1/3 in your entire wage bill? Why doesn't everybody think this is a good idea? I literally don't get it. And now in the middle of a pandemic, this is the worst system you could possibly imagine.
His eyes almost rolled back around.
He pays $1,000 a month. His employer pays on top of that, and then he has to pay $6,000 more just for his plan.
Deductible. So
Yeah, when he has to use his plan. Oh my god. Yeah, that's nuts. There's more.
I've been an American citizen my whole life, and I've been uninsured for the majority of it.
Yeah,
Underinsured
so
or non-insured for
when
the
I tell
majority.
people that Medicare for all is a conservative argument economically, this guy also agrees. So let's watch this
It
clip.
is.
So here's something that might be a light at the end of the tunnel on this one, at least as far as healthcare goes. So let's think about Texas. Texas is 18% of the population has no healthcare, and that's before everyone starts losing their jobs, right? Now, those emergency rooms are just going to be complete shit shows, right? And already in places like Boston and New York, these hospitals are spending money hand over fist. They're not going to get that back from the insurance companies. At the end of the day, the government's going to pay. So at the end of the day, if the government's paying, why not just make the government the payer? Because if your insurance companies actually can't insure, what the hell is the point in giving them the money in the first place?
There is no point.
Oh, can I say congratulations, NHS, for getting your prime minister out and healthy. Go Bojo! I might
yeah.
not agree with your politics
If your
at all,
if
but
insurance can't pay, why pay the insurance?
you're alive and healthy. That's good. Yeah, what is the point of insurance? If it's lost its point, it probably means it's pointless. Get rid of it.
And so
You go bankrupt.
and so they also answer beautifully, how are you going to pay for it?
Oh yeah, they always want it Republicans to know.
So do you think we really are past this argument then? Because it's as recent as March 17th, there was, or 15th, there was a debate, and Joe Biden turned to Bernie Sanders, who was proposing Medicare for all, and said, how are you going to pay for it? Where are you going to get the money from?
Yeah, I think that argument basically now you can just turn around and go, well, didn't we just find money for cruise lines? I mean, just keep saying that over and over again.
It's not just the Republicans, Democrats too. Where are we going to pay for it? Where are we going to find it?
They're repeating the same thing. It's like fucking, we got some parrots up there.
Yeah, so the U.S. healthcare system is literally the worst healthcare system in the world, probably at all times for a developed country.